Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the LiveFitNow Podcast. Can you believe it? Another week has flown by and another episode is ready for you to listen to. Once again, I am having a conversation with a lady who is open and sharing her story of a condition that she suffered with for the last couple of years. It is called Amenorrhea, and it is in fact the absence of menstruation, which means there is one or more missed menstrual periods, and this is often linked to particular causes. And today my guest is sharing her own story and also sharing some of the ways that she has faced and worked through her issues and how she has shared her story with others and coming through the other side. So it is a very open conversation. Of course, it is about a subject area that may trigger some people, but I really do hope that everyone takes something away from the episode, whether it be something you can relate to personally or perhaps someone you know that may have suffered from a similar eating disorder. This is an area I think that covers and touches on so many different elements of our lives, including body positivity, our body image, how we feel about ourselves, what we're seeing around us, the society that we've created. And I think this is just an example of one person's story and the way they're affected by it. So without further ado, I'm going to head over to the episode and leave you with the conversation. My guest today published her first poetry book in 2020. After being diagnosed with an eating disorder in 2018, she went on a spiritual healing journey, facing her inner demons and having a strong calling to inspire others. She quickly became a mental health advocate, promoting the power of vulnerability during events, workshops, and online. Welcome to the LiveFitNow Podcast, Ananda De Jager. How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. And you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So I really would just love to kickstart the conversation by allowing you to share your story. How have you reached this point in your life? What's happened and what's your experience?
All right, well, so my name is Ananda. I'm 26 years old and from the Netherlands. And a few years ago, I didn't get my period for, I think it was about a year. So my relationship had just ended. I just moved to Milan and I started working out a lot and eating less. And I've always kind of had an issue with food, meaning that I used food as a coping mechanism. So if something would go bad, I would usually eat less or want my body to look a specific way. And I think I never really saw it as a problem. I was like, okay, I can live like this until I'm 80, until I lost my period. And I was like, okay, maybe it's my body trying to tell me like, you're not doing the best you can right now. And also the decision at 24, whether I wanted to have kids or not, I was like, okay, I don't want to make that decision right now. So that's why I choose to, heal my relationship with food. But I think I also realized going to the doctor and having him prescribe me again on the pill or just saying eat more wasn't going to solve the core issue. So that's why I went into a more spiritual journey, meaning looking at my patterns, looking at my behavior, what my triggers were, where did they come from, and that's where I am now.
Wonderful, thank you. I mean, how old would you say you were when your issues with food started?
I would say like puberty, so maybe like 12, 13. But I've never been an easy kid, so I don't remember eating normally in that sense.
It was always something you sort of felt you had control over. Yeah. And so,
fake sense of control.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. It starts to control you, doesn't it? I've had a few conversations like this, and it's so interesting how it does start to come into taking hold of life at such an early age and then continues to grow with you. So when you say you looked for a spiritual answer, did you go and see somebody or were you researching yourself? How did it go?
I did a few healing journeys. I forgot the name of the author of the book, off the top of my head. I also had a more spiritual coach. So she really looked at your body and where your energy blockages are and then taking them away. I also did a few family constellations, Reiki sessions. So it was really for me about finding what works for me, because what works for me might not work for anybody else. So really a trial and error with trying different things, but always focused on healing the mind, body, and the soul, because I believe they're all related.
Yeah, absolutely. You really can't look after one without looking after the other. They will hinder each other. So what inspired you to write this poetry book that you've got published this year?
Actually, I started sharing a lot of poetry of other people and quotes on my Instagram. And a lot of people replied to that saying, oh, it's really nice what you posted. It really inspired me for today. It really helped me. And one of my best friends, she was always writing in her diary, and I was doing the same, but I felt like it was a bit time consuming. So I'm a very efficient person, and I felt like with poems in a few sentences, I could write down what I was feeling. And it really helped me in my healing journey to write down my feelings. Like some days I would write 5, some days I would write none or just 1. And that's how the book came about. And also to help other people, like to show them you're not alone. There's other people who are feeling the same thing. So that's why I decided to publish it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And have you built a network of people that have helped support you through this journey? Because I imagine it's quite an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, I think the more I opened up and the more vulnerable I became, the more people around me did too. And I always say I feel like I really have a support group of people around me right now, that no matter what will always have my back. And I think that's super important, because even though you have to recover alone, like you have to do it yourself, you don't have to do it alone, in a sense that there's people who can help you, people you can talk to, etc.
And have you had a lot of feedback from the book?
Yes, mostly from my friends, but also from people I don't know, that they can really see the roller coaster that I was going through, how vulnerable and open it was, but also, yeah, that they really felt my own emotions in that. And also someone that didn't have experience with eating disorders or such thing, he read it and he said that he finally understood a little bit what people with an eating disorder are going through.
It's fantastic. Words can be so powerful, can't they?
Yeah, really.
Do you have any plans for the future to expand your publishing list, or do you want to go a different way about it?
I'm not sure yet. I am writing new poems for sure, but I had kind of underestimated the marketing that goes behind it. So I'm not sure if I would do the whole circus with the marketing again. So that it would be more for myself. But for sure, with this book, I have some workshops planned, some events, also with some organizations for people with eating disorders, podcasts, poetry readings, really to get the message out there and inspire other people.
Yeah, we live in such a great time that we can reach so many people in so many different situations.
Yes.
And are you working with other people for these workshops, or is it just your own journey and sharing with people?
It depends. One of them, it's for parents with kids that have eating disorders. So there it's me and a parent, not my parents, but another parent. And then there's one workshop that I'm planning to do with 2 other writers. So it's really depending on the organization as well, their needs and what they want.
It sounds really exciting that there's so many different ways you can reach different people. And you mentioned the fact that you were working with parents, which is a really interesting idea, because I'm guessing a lot of these issues do start in childhood years, in teenage years. Have you noticed more of that? 'Cause I'm guessing you have looked more and more into this during your own personal journey and found so many people in similar scenarios.
I think actually, whether you had an eating disorder or not, a lot of the behaviors that you have right now are, of course, due to your childhood. And I do believe that your parents do everything in their best abilities, but still things happen in your childhood that have an effect later on you, or you have certain family patterns that keep reoccurring until somebody decides to have an honest look at them. And I really think we're here to learn something. So in that sense, I'm super grateful that I also had the luxury and ability to work on myself and to break those patterns that were there for whatever reason. So I definitely along the way also met a lot of people on the same journey, and yeah, it brings up a lot of interesting discussions, and I think there's a lot of power in vulnerability, no matter how scary it is to speak up, because so many people are scared to really say what they feel or scared of being judged. Well, I think opening up, being your true self, it opens so many doors.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but
No, it's to expose yourself is, you've really got to be brave with it, I think, because people so often will try and keep the cloak down so they can keep themselves protected. But having a support network around, once you've made yourself vulnerable, you realize you're not alone, and that's extremely powerful, isn't it? And did you have a memorable, pivotal moment that made you think, I need to do something, this isn't right?
I feel like a lot of people expect that they will have this moment, but it's unfortunately it's not like that. I feel like it's more like a gradual process. Like deep down, for example, when you don't get your period or you're always thinking about food, you're always cold, you're like, okay, I know it isn't supposed to be this way and I want to change it. But I was always kind of hoping I would skip the healing phase and go straight to being where I'm at now. But unfortunately, you have to go through the mud and 3 steps forwards, 2 steps back all the time. But it's really worth it. I did have one day last year where I went to work and it looked like everybody had gained weight in one day. And I was like, wait, that's like impossible. It can't be the case that everybody gains weight on the same day in the same amount. And then I was like, okay, maybe my brain had just been playing tricks with me, that I think it's called body dysmorphia, that I see things different than they are. So that was really a moment like, okay, it's really a mental illness and not just something.
Yeah. And where do you consider yourself in your healing journey now? And how long did it take you to really feel the differences? And I guess for you, you had the marker of having your periods return.
Yeah. So I have my period back for almost 1 year now, but I would say since the book got published, I would call myself really healed. But and I was saying this to a friend this morning, I feel like I'm in kind of a middle path right now. Like I'm not the girl with the eating disorder. I'm healthy, I'm happy, but I'm also not totally there yet, because there's still some small things I want to change or I want to work on. But I also feel like that's a lifelong process, and we can enjoy the ride of working on ourselves and becoming the best version we can be.
Yeah, absolutely. We are constantly evolving without question. And so is your quest now to spread the message of this? Is this your job? Is this just a sideline? How big a part of your life has this become?
It's a really big part of my life, but it's more a sideline. So I have a full-time job next to it, but I just want to see how it goes. And for now, it's doable to combine it. I want to inspire as many people as I can, but I'm also still young and I'm still learning. So I want to get a bit more experience first too in what I do and how I do it.
That's quite fun to be able to bring that to life.
Yeah, it is. I'm still amazed by everything. If I look at the past months, I'm like, okay, did this really happen? Is this real?
It makes life so much more fun when you've got so many things going on as well, I think.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
how do you choose to take care of yourself? What does a regular week look like for you to make yourself as healthy and fit as you can?
I eat enough, so that's a start for sure. I try to have a regular sleeping rhythm. I listen to my body. At least once a week, I take a bath, take some self-care. I dance a lot. So for me, what really helps is to get my body moving, to go for walks, to see my friends. So I really try to find my personal joy in my life. And that's something I always say to other people too, whether they're healing from an eating disorder or something else. Don't put the focus on food, but put the focus on joy and what gives you joy, what makes you feel good. So really analyze in your life who gives me energy, who doesn't, which friendships are making me better and which aren't, and go from there, like baby steps.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And it's a topic that comes up so often. I think there's so many things associated with exercise and food especially, that everything becomes a chore and a little bit of negativity, I think, almost around it, rather than thinking, what do I enjoy doing? What do I want to do? People so often think, oh, I have to do this. But I think if you start from that, oh, I have to, it becomes sometimes quite miserable and actually something you don't want to continue with. Whereas if you can find fun in things and enjoyment in things and realizing something makes you feel good, it in itself inspires you to keep going with it, and you get that consistency and you just get that lift from whatever it might be.
True. And I try to focus more on the long term. So of course the short term would be easy, right? I want to lose weight. But if you think about the long term, it's like I want to get stronger, I want to feel good in my body. So now I'm actually trying to gain muscle. So of course that comes with a little bit of weight gain, which, not gonna lie, it's not always easy, but it's a mindset that I'm setting myself up for. Like, okay, you're doing this for the long term. You're having a goal that's going to take you more than a year. You know what it is like to diet. So try something new, try to grow muscle and see where that takes you.
So you head into the gym multiple times a week to do that? Are you?
Yes. Well, I have my home gym because my gym only opens at 8 a.m. and I get up at 6 and I start working out. So awesome. It used to be open 24 hours, but times have changed.
Yes, we are living in strange times right now. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. Well, because that is my background, have you got any favorite moves? Have you got any lifts that you want to get strong at?
I want to be able to do a pull-up.
Yes, I love that. It's so often the goal. The body weight exercises are so much fun. And pull-up's a really good one. It's that working towards it. You can feel the change and improvement, and you can feel the body getting stronger and waking up different areas of the body that you don't even think about before.
Yeah.
Have you found that your story has connected you with people, not necessarily who have experienced the exact same symptoms as you, but other people on similar journeys and challenges with their body image, for example?
Yeah, I've been on a few retreats as well. And there I also met people who don't necessarily have an eating disorder, but also who struggle with the way their body looks or the way they come across to other people. And it's the same with my fitness journey. Like a few years ago, I was like, oh, you can only do like fitness if you're like super toned, super slim. But that's not true. There's so many girls and guys out there that can do fitness and that are able, for example, to do a pull-up even if they don't have a six-pack. Like you can be super fit and not have a six-pack. So that was also really a mindset shift for me. But yeah, I also met people who don't have body image issues at all. And I was like, what? How is that possible? Like, I'm so used to girls bringing themselves down or even myself judging my body. And then I met this girl who was like, no, I love my body the way it is. And I was like, oh my God, everybody should reach that point. Like, why aren't we all like that?
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think there's so much linked with our society and the images being shown to us. I mean, have you identified anything that you feel has influenced you and anything that as a society you would like to see changed?
Well, I have modeled in the past, and even though I don't think that's the cause of my eating disorder, I definitely don't think it helped either. So what you see a lot of on Instagram now, it's like normalized normal bodies. And I think that I would like to see more because, yeah, of course you're going to want to look like a girl in the bikini in a magazine. But this is also just the right angle, the right frame, the right Photoshop. So I think that would be great to see more.
Yeah, we take so much in through our eyes into our minds. And if the only images we have seen in the past is, as you say, perfectly Photoshopped and professional shooting, and these wonderful images, it skews our sense of reality. And I think you even get that, if you walk down the street, the people you see in the streets, rarely ever do you see someone that looks like they would be on the front of the magazine cover. But we need to see that more. As you say, I think Instagram does have a strong move right now to just allow us to see greater variety, which is realistic because every single body is different, and our genetics and frames and all these things give us our own optimal of feeling strong and fit and healthy. But it doesn't necessarily mean we'd ever look like the person on the cover of the magazine, but we can still start to feel more comfortable and confident just because we see so many different shapes and sizes now.
Yeah, fully agreed.
So I quite like to ask a question that I do like to ask everybody. Are there any myths that you feel there are around the spiritual journey of recovering from an eating disorder that you would like to debunk? Do you think there are ideas people have that aren't necessarily true?
I think when people talk about spirituality, they often think about this monk that's like meditating in the woods and like all Zen. But I hate meditation. Like, I know it would be good for me and I'm going to keep trying doing it, but it's really difficult for me to sit. I wouldn't say I hate it, but it's really difficult for me to sit still. And then this yoga poses, I'm the worst at yoga. But I think one of the myths is that when you're spiritual, you're like totally Zen and you're just like doing your meditation in the woods. And this is not what spirituality is, for me at least. For me, it's being present on earth, like being really grounded, while at the same time working with the energy that we have and releasing that and acknowledging that we're a soul in a body, but still making the best of our human journey and finding those opportunities here while being grounded. Like, I did the more spiritual way. I worked with energy, I did the yoga, I did the meditation, but at the same time I have a stable job, I'm grounded, I'm moving my body in ways that feel good. So spirituality, it's not just meditating in the woods. I feel like it's way more than that.
Yeah. Having that quiet time, allowing ourselves to reconnect, it means something different to everyone, I guess, and it's allowing yourself to explore your own self rather than feeling that it has to be a particular way. As you say, you're not a big fan of meditation, whereas another person that unlocks the key. It is really truly different for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and just being open-minded, I guess, is the key to getting started.
Yeah, and just trying things. I feel like a lot of people are scared to try things, but you never know if you never try. I've tried everything and I'm going to continue to try many different things and find what works for me. Because what works for me, it's not going to work for someone else, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And your relationship with food, has your diet changed a lot? Are you more flexible with yourself now? How do you approach it?
I'm definitely more flexible. In the beginning, I was kind of hoping I could work on myself and not change my food. But after a while, I realized, okay, maybe something needs to change about the food. I would definitely say I reached a point where I have food freedom, meaning that I can eat whatever I want, when I want it, in the right amount. I don't binge anymore, which is a big one for me because the binge restrict cycle is quite familiar with eating disorders as well. If something happens to me, I don't change my diet. So really my emotions are separate from food now, and I think that's a big point. Also, I'm not scared to go out to eat anymore, which I used to be, because it needed to be planned, it needed to be in a certain way. So I'm having lunch with a friend later and I have no idea what's going to be on the menu. So it's still, in a sense, sometimes I find it a bit scary, but it's like, okay, I'll just see, and tomorrow is another day. So really that point, and I eat more than twice as much as before. So
that's great. There's so many different areas there I can sense. And the interesting thing that I always wonder is, when you were suffering and you were diagnosed, did people know that you were suffering, or was it something that you managed to keep hidden?
It's a bit hard to hide it when you, at a certain point, your body starts showing it. Plus, I didn't get my period, and my parents were aware. So people knew that I was suffering, but I didn't allow them to come close, or I didn't listen to them until I was fully ready, because I didn't want to be a burden to anyone, and I really had to make the choice to heal by myself. So in that sense, I really did it by myself. And looking back, I wish I would have reached out more. But I think people definitely knew that I was suffering at that point. Maybe they didn't know how much or how deep until, for example, some of my friends have read the book and they were like, oh my God, I had no idea it was like this. But I guess everybody suffers in a way. It's just more visible in some people than in others.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got the visual markers to be able to see that. And is that part of your hope to help others, to help the people living around those suffering with eating disorders? Because I think it's a real challenge, particularly if you are someone that picks up perhaps on the signs, knowing what to say and how to act and how you can be supportive to them.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is also, say with my parents, for example, they couldn't have done anything different. It was my journey and mine to figure out, and I'm always very clear about that. But I think as parents or as friends, you feel guilty in a way for not being able to help. But yeah, if people don't want help, then there's very little you can do in a sense. So I think that was a big part. Yeah, everybody's different, of course, but I think that by sharing my story, maybe parents or friends of people with eating disorders, they understand a bit more what's going through the mind of someone like that.
Yeah, just knowing that you may not be able to do anything, but being there as a support can sometimes be all that you can do, but actually so important for the person that's trying to end their suffering, essentially. Yeah.
Very true.
So what has been your biggest challenge so far? Was there a particular barrier in front of you that was most difficult to break, or was it just a combination?
Well, I know it might sound silly, but for me the biggest scare was actually weight gain. Which when I look back at it, it's like, if that's the worst fear in my life that I have, it's really not that bad. But yeah, you really have to change your mindset around that, and being able to speak up and being vulnerable. Like, for example, now the book is out, everybody knows about it. My colleagues know about it. My friends know about it. My parents know about it. So really that opening up, being vulnerable, speaking about it, that was a big part as well.
Was it a relief when it was finally out and everyone just knew, you didn't have to worry anymore?
Well, everybody already knew a little bit. So it was not like a relief. It was more like, oh my God, what have I done? Now everybody knows there's no way back. So yeah. But for me, it was a very logical step in my journey and like the last puzzle piece to move forward.
Yeah. And other things as part of your journey, are there things that you try and do every day? Are there any daily rituals or practices that help keep you feeling good?
Well, I work out a lot. I like to dance. Before I go to bed and when I wake up, I check in with my body, like, how am I feeling? Where am I feeling it? Is my body trying to tell me something? I try to write daily, and I always try to go outside for a little bit, do a little walk or whatever, because those things really help me to keep me grounded, to keep me in a good headspace. And I listen to a lot of positive music as well, because I feel like music can really, lift your spirits.
It's so powerful. It's like when you're listening to the radio in the car and it will switch and you're suddenly like, why am I feeling a little bit irritated? And you realize it's the song itself is just is changing your mood. So I think that's a really great idea, actually, just to if you are feeling particularly on a challenging day, to listen to some music that makes you feel good, and it can just lift you up a little bit and get you started on a slightly more positive spiral.
So it's the same when you're in a bit of a mood and then you listen to negative music, you're only going to feel more shitty.
Yeah, exactly. The power of music is just awesome. So would you have any general tips that you would give, whether it be to people that are currently suffering or getting through their journey of suffering with an eating disorder, that you have felt helped you the most, that if they were to perhaps give it a try, it may at least give them a new experience that may or may not help them, of course, but your top tips?
It's always difficult, right? Because for me, it's easy to give tips now because I'm in a good place, but I'm not sure if I would have done them way back. I think one of the biggest parts is to be nicer to yourself. Try to keep the focus of food, but start by taking a bath, allowing yourself to get a massage, like really allowing yourself to properly enjoy things, to meet with friends. Even start with little post-its on your mirror saying you're doing a good job, you will succeed, everything is going to be all right. Like really start small. Don't expect to be at the other end of the spectrum within a month, but take it day by day. Be thankful, be nice to yourself. I know I've said that. And think about the long term. I think that mindset shift for me really helped. Like in the long term, you really don't want to feel this way forever. It is possible to recover, but you have to take the first step. And writing helped me a lot, in a sense, like evaluating what gave me energy, what didn't, and then doing more of those things that gave me joy and energy.
Becoming more mindful in the moments. That's great. And have you got any advice where perhaps if people are ready to reach out for help, is it good just to start with the people around you, saying, if they potentially aren't aware of what's going on, sharing it with someone that you trust? Or are there any particular organizations that you've found that can give you that support if you want to look further afield?
I think you can definitely Google support groups or organizations and see what works for you, because like I said, the one healing method that works for me might not work for somebody else. And really trying to find what works for you in that moment. I also read a lot of self-help books, and indeed reaching out to people so that they know the triggers, they know when you have a setback. So I feel like one of the biggest steps was acknowledging that there was a problem. Because acknowledging it and saying it to other people, you admit that there's a problem, but then you can also work on it. So awareness is really the first step.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. And I like to ask this quite broad question to people as well. And it's as simple as, what inspires you?
Oh, like simple questions. What inspires me?
Don't worry, it always completely throws people.
I think I'm really inspired by my friends and their unconditional love and support. Like, I don't know what I did to deserve those people in the past months that are, I'm going to cry if I talk about it. They're always there. They're so uplifting. They never have a bad thing to say, and they're just my biggest cheerleaders. And if I can't do it for myself one day, I'm doing it for them. I'm doing it for them, for my parents, for my future kids. It's definitely my friends that inspire me on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, it's so lovely. It's so powerful to have such a supportive network there, knowing they've got your back, and I guess it removes that feeling of being alone.
Yeah, it does. I'm never alone.
And I would like to start drawing to a close by giving you the floor to share one thing that you think everybody would benefit from knowing?
Well, your body is going to be with you for the rest of your life, so you might as well be nice to it and become friends with it. I think that's a really, really important one.
I think that's one of the most important things anyone really can take home from that. I love that. It's true. And we need to craft and build a society that allows that to happen, I think, because it's definitely been a challenge, I think, for so many people to try and just grow that love for ourselves, and also just becoming in tune with our bodies, and realizing how much it is capable of and how good we can feel when we allow it to do what it's capable of.
Yeah, fully agreed. Like, your body is doing everything to keep you alive, so you might as well help it in that.
Yeah, I love that. So if my audience would like to either order your book or get in touch with you, follow you on social media, where can we find you?
All right. Well, the book is on Instagram. I also have a website, which is just my name.com, so anandadejager.com. And on Instagram, I can be found under Ananda, so 4 A's at the end. And I do my best to respond to messages as fast as I can. I'm always happy to chat, to reach out, to discuss anything that I did. So that's the best way to reach me, I would say.
Fantastic. I will pop all of those links on the show notes so people can just click straight through and get in touch with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hear your story. I hope you sell lots and lots more of editions of your poetry book, and that your events and workshops and being able to inspire and help more people in the future does so well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 24 of the Live Fit Now podcast. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Ananda as much as I did. I know it can be an emotive conversation, but I hope you have all taken something home from it. And if you would like to get in touch with us, please remember that you can just pop onto the show notes and click through to get in touch. You are also more than welcome to email me directly, hello@livefitnow.co.uk. And don't forget, you can share this episode on any social media platform, or simply tell your friends and family about this and other episodes of the Live Fit Now podcast. We also have all of the episodes up on our Live Fit Now YouTube channel, so feel free to head over there, or again share with those who prefer the YouTube platform. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Until next Thursday.